Good evening. I would like to call this meeting of the Community Engagement Advisory Committee to order. I would like to thank the viewers for their attendance and for tuning in. At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Paula Jones to give us our invocation.
Dear Lord, thank you for this day. We're grateful for this day. Now, Lord, lead us and guide us as we suggest decisions and make choices to better our city of Jacksonville, North Carolina. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, and I would like to welcome everyone here today. And if there's any guests, and also we will have introduction of our committee. What we'll do is we'll start around with our committee, then we'll introduce our guests. If you can stand, say your name and what you represent here today.
Gloria Whitney, member.
Yes, ma'am.
Betty Dawson, member.
Paula Jones, member.
Pamela Trafton, Staff Community Engagement Coordinator. Raquel Painter, President, United Way.
Tracy Jackson, City of Jacksonville Staff, Community Engagement Manager.
Marsha Wright, member.
Yes, ma'am.
LaShawn Young, Citizen, Jacksonville.
Victor Young, citizen, Jacksonville.
Janet Murray, citizen of Jacksonville.
David Graves, first and foremost, I represent my father and the National Association of Minority Veterans of America, so I'm here to represent our veteran community.
Thanks, sir.
Leon McClain, and I'm a newcomer to Jacksonville.
Thanks, sir.
Nate Udofia, and I'm a consultant to the NAM Vets organization.
All right, and my name is Will Smith. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Community Engagement Committee. Thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. I appreciate your presence. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the agenda? And are there any changes or additions?
Mr. Chair, I move the agenda be adopted as printed.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have approval of the minutes from December 16th, and they're provided for any consideration. Members should review the minutes and note any corrections. All right. At this time, we'll have the Onzo Strong Disaster Recovery Allowance. Miss.
And you're gonna adopt the minutes.
Okay, we have to, okay.
I make a motion that the minute be approved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll have Miss Raquel Painter.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for having me. I forgot I should have introduced myself as the chairman for the Also Strong Disaster Recovery Alliance. But I'm just here to provide some information about the Also Strong Disaster Recovery Alliance. We were formed after Hurricane Florence. There was a need in our community to kind of have a one streamlined source for our residents to go to. You know, what we noticed was our residents were running from one agency to another agency, filling out multiple applications. So what we did was brought various partners in our community together, government officials, both from county and city, nonprofit organizations, faith-based organizations, and some businesses in the area came together to form Oslo Strong Disaster Recovery Alliance. We actually had our first meeting back in April of 2019, and we received our 501c3 in November. So it didn't take us no time at all to get rolling and get going, so we're able to get grants and funding to support our residents here in Onslow County.
I know she's got a presentation in there.
Okay, so yeah, I talked about our mission already. Our objective is really to help our residents here in Onslow County, and that's through various levels, whether it's providing assistance through the recovery process, through resources that we have together as an organization that we funnel through our various partners, assist disaster victims by addressing serious disaster-related needs that cannot or have not been met met. For example, if they went through FEMA, they went through their insurance, and there is still extensive damage that requires funding, then we fill that gap for them. There's various ways that we do that with Also Strong Disaster Recovery Alliance. We meet once a month, and we meet once a month with the various partner agencies that are sourced together. So, gosh, at any time, we could have up to 30 different agencies in that meeting. That we meet every first Friday of the month at the Trillium building down there on Center Street, and we meet from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And that's just kind of going over an overview on what our committees have done since the last meeting. So as you can see, we got various subcommittees that we manage through Also Strong Disaster Recovery Alliance. One of them, of course, is the volunteers. What we do is we gather volunteers together to go in and help the agencies. So if an agency is working on mucking or putting down floors, and all they need is volunteers to do that, our volunteer coordinators source volunteers to fill that need. So that way, an individual is not paying somebody to actually do that work where volunteers can do it for them. Our next one is donation management. We have someone that focuses just on donations that come in. I don't know if you guys were aware, but we had so many donations come in after Hurricane Florence, but what we didn't have was a one location for people to go to. So it was randomly popping up that there's a food source here, there was water here, there's Gatorade here, and a lot of people who really needed it didn't have the means to get to those locations. So that's another reason why Also Strong Disaster Recovery Alliance set up. So next time, there is a disaster that hits us, we'll be well prepared in that aspect. But we do have a donations manager that manages all the donations that are coming in. So right now, we still have furniture that comes in. So once a person's house gets rebuilt, we're able to provide them with furniture. We have people that are donating flooring and roofing materials. So we have a donation person that manages all that and gets it to the organizations that are actually doing the work. We also got emotional and spiritual care through our organization. So there's a few of our partner agencies that handle that. As you know, the Hurricane Florence, when it left, it was devastating. People lost everything. And some stuff are irreplaceable. So a lot of them needs that extra emotional and spiritual care and support. So we actually make sure we provide that also within our Alliance group. In our Basic and Unmet Needs Committee, this is probably the one that is the most active, just because they have to go through and really find out who is not getting taken care of in the community and what is the unmet needs. So our Unmet Needs Committee meets bi-weekly. So they meet every other Tuesday. And right now, we have case managers that are managed through Endeavors, which they receive state funding to do the case management portion for us. So as they're managing the cases, they bring each case to the Unmet Needs Committee. And at the Unmet Needs Committee, we have representatives from everybody who has the resources. So United Way is at the table, Red Cross is at the table, Salvation Army is at the table, Lutheran Services, Catherine Charities, you name it. Whoever's got resources available for Hurricane Florence, they're sitting at the table. Because like I said, we're looking at doing a one-stop shopping for our residents. So case manager will bring the case, and then at that time, it's decided who's gonna handle what on this individual case. So the Unmet Needs Committee, like I said, they're probably the most active on that one. And with all the residents that we currently have, we have a lot of them on the wait list. We're projecting there's probably over 200 individuals still displaced out of their homes that we're able to support. So once we manage the cases and close one out, we can bring another one on. But those are the cases that we're able to manage and that we're aware of. I'm sure there's a lot more out there, just because we had over 19,000 residents that were on the FEMA list. That's a lot of residents. So there's, people are really surprised at that number, but our county had a lot of, damage to our residents. So that's the main reason why we're here. We're trying to get everybody back on track. But when you're looking at, 16 months after the storm, we still got people that are in hotels or living on someone's couch. And we really need to get them back in their homes and get them back to some type of normalcy. And I think our construction committee, this is the one that's really the hardest to fill for us right now. We're having trouble finding people that would come out and do the assessments and estimates and actually project prioritization for us. I think it's just because the need is still so great in our community that a lot of times, you want to go where, the people are paying you. That's understandable. So this here is probably the one we struggle the most with. But we did put in for a grant to actually hire someone for this position because the need is so great out there. We got a lot of our residents just waiting to get assessments done on their house, on the damage and the cost. So that alone is holding up a lot of the homes that we could be in there doing work on. So this one here is where our shortfall is. In case management, I talked about case manager already. Fortunate for us, like I said, Endeavors received a grant from the state. So the state is paying for that case management portion for us, and they're managing the cases. So anybody who, is still struggling out there, they could contact Endeavors directly and then, have them view their cases and eventually bring them on the docket as the caseload dwindles down. Because the case managers can only hold so many cases at a time. So a lot of times they got to close out a case in order to bring on a new one. Yeah. But here's just a few resources available out there for those who want to volunteer and help out. Like I said, the volunteering ranges from laying floor to doing sheetrock to mucking. There's, we just did a house last Saturday that still had to get mucked. But Volunteer Onslow is what we're sourcing the volunteers through. Endeavors is the case manager. So there's the number for Endeavors and the email address that you can send to get assistance. And also North Carolina Conference of the United Methodist Church Disaster Recovery. Man, that's a long title. I wish they'd shorten it up just a little bit for me. But they are also here, and they are doing a majority of the caseloads for the houses. So they bring in volunteers, and we source them with volunteers, but they're the ones that are going in there and laying the floors and the roofs and that type of work. And they're the ones right now, I think they got a couple hundred on the waiting list for them too. But that's the number directly to them, and they'd be happy to have people reach out to them and see where they'll be able to help them. Yeah. So anybody have any questions?
What award did you all recently win?
Yes, we just recently got an award on Friday. So we were runner-up for the United Way's Golden Rule Lightkeeper Award for adult group. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we're very excited about that. We've only been around a short time, but we are making a huge impact in the community.
Yes, ma'am. I just have a couple questions for you. Like when a person wants to not get involved, but apply for help. Now, is this like in addition to their insurance, where their insurance may have not made up a difference, or FEMA didn't help them out? Are these the type of people that we're asking about?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's some people too that are out there that didn't put in for FEMA or, didn't have insurance. So those ones also can be helped.
Okay.
Yes.
And the last question is there a target area where like a majority of these individuals come from, whether it's in the county or in the city, or is it just kind of all over?
Yeah, it's just kind of all over because it really just depends on when the individual started their case management and where it's at. So there's someone that could be, 6 months time as holding on as the case management holds on to their case, where someone probably needs something small and they're probably only with us for a month or two.
Yes.
So it really just depends on the extent of work that needs to be done. But like I mentioned earlier, the case managers can only hold so many cases
Yes,
too. So that's the issue. It just depends on how long, how much work they need done, and how fast they could cycle them through.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And one thing that, like we have to look at, of Onslow County, I think you said you helped about 200 residents so far. That's a big deal,
Oh, yeah. Actually, it's a lot more than that. We invested a couple $1 million already into the community for that, yes. And like I said, some people just needed small things, but we're talking, everybody as a whole. You're talking United Way, you're talking the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, which are the three big ones. And then Lutheran and Catherine charities came through, and they've had a lot of funding that helped our residents also.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's just as a whole, yeah, it's a lot when you put everyone together, and that's what we're doing, is making sure everybody is
I have
working
a
together.
question. Is it pertaining to city and and county? Because like for myself, I pay city and county tax. So if I'm in the city and the city can't help me, then I can cross over to the county?
This is for Onslow County as a whole.
Onslow County as a
So,
whole?
it doesn't matter if you're
City
Swansboro, if you're
slash
Jacksonville, it's Onslow County
Okay.
who we're covering. Yep, so if you live in Onslow County,
There's no red lining.
yes,
All right.
yes.
Yes, ma'am. That's a good question. Okay, thank you, Ms. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes.
So the start place for someone who is interested and needs some help is Volunteer Onslow, or
No, Endeavors.
is it start with Endeavors
Endeavors
first?
is the case
Okay.
manager, yep. And Volunteer Onslow is for the people who want to volunteer to help.
Okay.
Certain ages for volunteers?
It depends on the task, but preferably someone 18 and above,
And
because there's
above,
gonna
they can
be a
have,
lot of
like carpet tearing out, and
yeah.
that kind of, cleaning, washing wall with mold and stuff,
Mhm.
I would imagine. Okay.
Yeah. And the good thing about it though, Methodist Church Disaster Recovery, they provide all the materials.
They did.
So if we're going into a home that, we gotta tear off the sheetrock with the mold, we got the respiratory on there,
So
so.
one thing too, Lowe's provided some buckets with shovels and cleaning utilities, because they brought them over to our church and we was giving them out as people would need them. And they had all the cleaning material in there, bleach and everything,
Oh,
so
yeah.
we like to know where to give them, too, because we had some sitting over there and we didn't even know they were there.
Oh, yeah.
But we
And that's
did give
the
them to
whole
the
part.
churches the kids that came up from other churches to clean,
Mhm.
we gave them to them.
Yes,
So
and
they'd
that's
have
what we
extra.
wanna avoid next time, once Onslow Strong Disaster Recovery Lines is set up, we'll have a distribution point
Right.
to collect and of course, to get the supplies out to the people who need it.
Mhm.
And we know, like I said before, a lot of them couldn't get to those locations because
Right.
of transportation and, other stuff. We wanna make
Yeah.
sure we get the supplies to those areas that need it, yeah.
Good to know.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. At this time, we'll have a census update by Ms. Marsha Wright.
Thank you. Good evening, those of you who are watching. So I want to, at this point, you can see on the screen that we've got 37 days until Census Day, April the 1st. We only do this every 10 years, and it seems like now it's here. So we're very close to it. And I'll give you just a refreshing on the basics for the census. You see that figure up there, $402 million was lost. First, the census is to count every person in the United States, every person who is living at your address on that day. April 1 is target date, always has been. Second, remember that Onslow lost $402 million in shared revenue from the state and federal government because not everyone was counted in the 2010 census. $675 billion is allocated during the 10 years between each census, or at least 10 years between 2010 and now. And it's based solely, almost all of that money is based solely upon census data. You're not looking at what you find out in the newspaper or anything like this. This is all census data, which is why it's so important that we have a good count. And third, the census matters because the numbers are used to determine how many seats we get in Congress, how our state house and Senate seats are arranged, and even for Jacksonville, how our wards are drawn. And as far as Congress is concerned, there's only 435 members in Congress. That doesn't go up or down. That 435 is divided among the 50 states and territories, depending upon how your count is. Now this time it will not be as difficult to fill out the census. You can do it online, you can do it by phone. If you want to do a paper form, one can be provided. The data is safe. Am I ahead of you or behind? You can leave it right there for a moment. The data is safe. Census workers take a lifetime oath to never reveal the personal information. And it is our civic duty to participate in the census. And that's a concern a lot of people have about privacy and things like that. But my take on it is, and I tell people when I talk to them, that the way things are now, you don't really have any information that the government does not either know about or has a way to find out. So at least this way, you can stand up and be counted to represent your community. When Onslow lost from 2010, we had at least 22,000 people who were not counted, and that's just in this one county. Jacksonville dropped in rank from 10th to 14th most populous city because of the loss in the population count. North Carolina also lost a chance for an additional congressional seat, so we're trying to get that back. And in addition to that, well, South Carolina got the congressional seats. It should have gone to North Carolina had we done a better job of counting the people that we should have been counting. Potential 2020 effects. North Carolina has been showing a 10% growth, boost ranking. North Carolina wins a 14th congressional seat. We hope that happens. Onslow County could possibly top 200,000 in population. And when your population moves up and passes certain thresholds, it makes funding from the state and federal government more available to your population than if you're below those thresholds. Redistricting Congress, state, and the state Senate. And this is what many are predicting for the numbers, that we will have this growth. In the last census, the number for Onslow County was 177,000 or so. So we think if we just count accurately, we may gain as many as 30,000 additional population here. And that will mean a lot to us for congressional redistricting and funding that's coming forth. We've got 18 days until your census invitations arrive, but now we have 18 days until many of you will get your invitation. And the time, as I say, has gone by very, very quickly, but we're ready to spring in there and start doing the counting. And people have been out there doing assessments about addresses and things of that nature all along to get prepared for this. But the actual date that we're looking at to start this is April 1. And as you can see, here's what's going on. We have the timing of ads and awareness is geared to peak at the time when most homes will receive their census response cards in the mail. And that's around the education and awareness campaign will be through March 12th. And I hope you all have been seeing and hearing the ads that have been out. I think they've been very good this year. Then we'll go into the motivation and participation phase. That will be from March 13th till about May 20th. So as you'll see, we will loop over April the 1st. It won't be a drop dead date after which we cannot count anymore. We will be continuing to get as accurate a count as we can. And if you have not responded by mid-April, someone will come to your home. And so we encourage people that if you've gotten the paperwork and so on, go ahead and respond, to the request. And the national campaign will start May 13th as a reminder, because we will be trying to do as accurate a count as we can. And there's been a lot of media awareness of this, so I think that we'll do, I'm hoping very strongly that we do our best to get this done. Next, we have our main strategy. We all count here in Jacksonville and Onslow. You'll see the pictures up on the wall. We've got veterans up there. We've got women. We've got young people. We've got families. We have our babies on here. And as you may or may not know, Onslow is the youngest county in the state of North Carolina in terms of median age. We're only 23 years old median age. That means we've got a lot of young children. And as you know, every time we turn around, we are digging up dirt to build a new elementary school. And you simply cannot tax your way into building school after school after school. This funding has to come from the rebate we get back. When you get your paycheck and those taxes are gone, they are gone. You're not getting a check back for that. The best way we can do this is to do a good count so we can get our money coming back through grants, like Raquel talked about earlier, getting our fair share of grants and so on. And our main strategy is to be involved trusted local voices and local images in our work. The Jacksonville Onslow Complete Count Committee, and I'm on that committee, has worked to get these messages out across the county. And this poster that you see up here is in the atrium here at City Hall and a lot of other government buildings too. So it's a reminder that everyone is impacted, everyone is important. I want people to know that money and resources do not come to invisible people. So if you don't count yourself and you choose to remain invisible, there's no money coming your way and there's no money coming to any of the concerns that you might have. You can only receive resources if you stand up and that you're counted. There are jobs available for the 2020 census. The U.S. Census Bureau is recruiting to fill hundreds of thousands of temporary positions across the county and the country to assist with the 2020 census count. Starting pay in Onslow area is $15.50 per hour, and there are still unfilled jobs to fill. So if anyone is interested in a temporary position, and you never know where that might lead to. This is not the last time we would do this. This is done every 10 years, and it will be for as long as U.S. is here. And so we encourage anyone who might be interested and may be retired or whatever else is going on to work with the census. And you can go to www.2020census.gov/jobs if you're interested in applying for a position with the census. And last, I would just say that Shape Your Future starts here with the United States Census 2020. If you want more information, please go to 2020census.gov and you will get whatever information you need. If you're involved in churches or organizations, please pass the word and spread the word about how important it is for all of us to be counted. And we don't want anyone to not be counted, including your children and so forth. If you have questions, there's someone who will be glad to answer that. And we just want to make sure that everyone who wakes up in April 2020 in the United States is counted and included in the census in 2020. Any questions or?
Yeah, how do you go
Yes.
about, how do you go about counting those that's homeless?
I think that there are subcommittees that are dealing with, this time we have a range of subcommittees for hard to reach populations. And I can get a better answer for you later on, but I do know that there are committees that are working on, I'm chairing a committee to reach the people who have children ages 0 to 5. There are people who are looking into nursing homes and assisted living facilities. That's a hard population to reach, especially if you don't have an address, you know, because basically a census is always based on where you're actually living. But part of the problem that we have here in Onslow County about getting resources for our homeless population is we cannot seem to get an accurate count about how many people out here are truly homeless. The school system counts how many children they consider to be homeless based on certain criteria. And you'll have, I've known the school system to have upwards of 600 kids that are considered homeless that are going to school. And yet you look at other groups who are counting who say there are no people who are homeless here, or just a few. We have, one shelter here, and that's just a handful of people who are there. So I do know, though, that there are subcommittees that are looking at everything you can imagine in terms of hard to reach populations. And we hope that we will be able to get a good count on everyone. I think they might have a strategy for how to address the issue of an address if you want to be counted, but you don't have a place you live in. But there's a way for you to, do that as well, but I'll be glad to get an answer for you,
And I know, Marcia, too, the Can Do Committee that meets once a month that
Yes.
just talk about the homelessness and what to do in the community. So they're setting up a couple churches and offering food and that type of stuff to bring the homeless there and have the computer set up for them to get counted. Mhm. Yeah, I just don't know off the top of my head where those locations are at. I
Yes.
think actually the one right across the street, First Presbyterian, was gonna be one of them. Yeah, so they got a couple of them picked out and identified.
Yeah. And as I said, we've been trying to find ways to be more public friendly. And though I did have the question, and I think I said something about it earlier, because people have heard about this being online, they're concerned about older people or people who just are not that computer savvy and don't have access to it. But this is just a way to build in the population who, since 2010, has learned and become much more into using cell phones and social media and so on, to make sure we incorporate them in the process. But there will be a way for everybody to be reached: mail, telephone, personal visit, every way you can imagine. And if you're not very comfortable with one, there are other ways that you can be reached. But there's almost no way to not be able to count everybody we have to count if we use all of the methods that we are employing to do this.
What kind of safety precautions, or maybe I missed that part, are put in place for people who are going door to door? I mean, I imagine, from what I've seen on TV, some of the commercials,
Yes.
there's people going, knocking on your
Yes,
door, the lady, I'm a census worker.
And that has happened in
trying
the
to take your
past.
checkbook too, you know.
That's, and it's a concern because back in 2010,
Overflow.
this process has been going on since 1789, we began this process. But 2010, it didn't come up too much, but this time it has been coming up more often. And I don't know whether people might be partnering. That's a conversation that I think they will have had in training. Because as you get the job, if you want to do this, there are training procedures that you have to go through to know what to do. For the person on the opposite side who's opening the door to their home, this person will always have a very clear badge that it identifies them. If you don't see that immediately, do not open the door. So if you do have someone who knocks on the door and says, I'm with the census, there is an official badge. And I think that they may have those that you see on TV as well, but I'll mention that also to the committee, because I think we have another meeting coming up the first week in March to kind of tie all our loose ends up. So these are good questions to ask, because there is a concern on both sides. As a census worker, you know, am I okay when I go up to the door? And then as a person on this side of the door, am I okay to open up my door to this person? And as I said before, there's a long time, 72 years has to lapse before any information we collect in this census becomes public information. So if you've got a brand new baby in the house, this year in 2020, that baby will be 72 years old before any information we've collected. Now the aggregate data will come out, how many people, how many jobs, how many whatever, but personal information will come out, is not available until 72 years after we collect it.
Now, I remember hearing on seeing on one of the commercials that census workers will not ask for things like your social security number. And there was another number that they will not be asking for, personal information like that.
Because
they will not be asking
Because the census
for
is
that.
not
Nothing
interested
to do
in
with
that kind
that.
of thing, yes. And I hope that we're doing a pretty good job of letting people know that the question of citizenship was taken off of the form. So that was out there for a minute, and that's off the table. So that is not a concern we have too, because we need to know how many people are using the roads and the schools and the resources and everything else. And so we need to be able to make this available to everyone, so. But just push that word out, push the, and we certainly are available, our complete count committee. If you have people who still do have questions, please call me or, and I can get the question to the committee.
Marsha, we also have a place of stationery wherein it's sort of like the voting where you can drive up and let people vote in the cars. In town, that people, the older population that don't want people coming to their house can come down and fill out the census. People can help
I think so,
them.
yes, because I think we're talking about having a census date. That was the last thing that was on the
So
table,
that would
so.
be advantageous
Yes, so
for
as
you.
soon as we nail down those days
Mhm.
and those locations, we'll,
Okay.
again, that will be something else. Keep that in mind. Look at your social media,
Right.
look at your TV, look at Channel 10, because I'm sure it will go out over that. They will have some locations that will take care of issues
So
like
we can
that.
get volunteers to pick them up and take them down.
Absolutely.
If they can have someone else to help them fill out their forms, and they'll feel much safer, you know, that way.
Yes.
So,
And we thought about that, so that's coming up in the next week or so. Get that out. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I'll turn it over to Ms. Tracy Jackson, Community Development.
Good evening, everyone. Wanted to give a staff report on our annual action plan that is in process of being completed. Wanted to thank the committee members for joining us at our community input meeting held on January 23rd. We had Ms. Gloria Whitney, we had Ms. Betty Dawson, we had Ms. Marsha Wright, and we had Bishop Smith come out and support us in getting the information out to the community. It also turned into a information meeting to where a lot of folks that were there, they learned about all of the programs and projects that we have here at the city. So it was a very good turnout and we appreciate your support. The next community input meeting is gonna be held April 6th here at City Hall, here in this room at 6 p.m. So you're more than welcome to join us and continue to support us. And that will be the final meeting before we submit our plan to HUD. Those are some very nice shots of the people that were in attendance. We also had Councilman Brian Jackson. He also came out and supported us. We have a picture of Ms. Marsha Wright. She given the information about the census. And of course, I'm giving information about the projects and programs and activities we have here at the city. So we had a very good turnout. Also wanted to announce that we have a new homeowner at 124 Newberry Street. A new homeowner, she's very appreciative to all of the assistance that and the information that she received so that she can purchase her first house. She came through our home buy education course, which our next class is scheduled for March 21st from 8 to 5 p.m. So if you would like to register for the class, make sure you call us at 910-938-5286. Also wanted to give you an update. We're just purchased some shaded shelters. I think we announced that last time. We purchased the shaded shelters and they're scheduled to be installed around Memorial Day. I think they're gonna be there Memorial Day. So it's gonna be some covered areas for to protect the people from the heat outside.
Bus stops? Are these like the bus stops?
No, these are the shaded shelters at Jack Emiette, the splash pad.
Okay. Okay.
We also have some new sidewalks in Georgetown. This is a picture of the finished sidewalks in front of First Baptist Church on Broadhurst. So those are almost complete on Broadhurst, and now we're working on the other side on Georgetown Road going towards 17. So we're gonna have some more sidewalks going toward that area. So we're very pleased with that project and it's coming along very well. We also gonna have a bathroom at the Georgetown Park. It's going to look exactly like the one that we have at Jack Emiette, so that those people that's out there in that community can enjoy that park and have some restroom facilities out there as well. So completion for both of these projects are slated around the Memorial Day. We wanna say around the 1st of May, but most definitely Memorial Day. And now, we're gonna turn it over to Pamela Traplin.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Those sidewalks by First Baptist Church,
Yes, ma'am.
did they stop right there at First Baptist Church? Does it go further than that?
It's gonna stop at First Baptist Church on Broadhurst, and then you cross over, and then you can go on down on the DMV side. But yes, they do stop right there because of they don't go past to the veterinary to 17.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, we got 2 slides. So first update that we have since we last met, we had our nonprofit conference on January 30th and 31st at Sturgeon City. It's our annual nonprofit conference that is free and open to nonprofits. It's an opportunity for nonprofits to come out and get their annual board training with the executive director, board members, and staff as well. This year we had a special treat. We had the Onslow County Public Library in attendance because we found out that nonprofits can actually find money online, grants to look for. All you need is a library card. We had at least 30 members sign up for their library card and got their library card the same day. So it takes it back to elementary school. If you do not have your library card, go get a library card. It was very eye-opening. They had an opportunity to kind of see real-time what happens. And you can actually search for particular filters. If you want to find anyone that was interested in golfing, you could put in golfing and find out particular people, their addresses, kind of round figures of how much they make, where they just all personal information that you thought was private is on the internet. So take a look at Onslow County Public Library.
Oh, my.
Yes.
Yes. So for future planning purposes, the conference will always be the last Thursday and Friday in January. It may overlap into February, just depending on calendar year, but it's always last Thursday and Friday. Next, we will go into our demolitions. This is our most recent demolition. We are currently at 127 demolitions. Our demolition program is a free voluntary program up to $10,000 for citizens in the city of Jacksonville. It is an application process. And you'll see from the pictures, we'll take it from what's current state, during phase, and then your after pictures. And the homeowner still maintains the rights to the land. So we have just taken the structure down.
Question before you move on. Does she have to pay for the demolition of the house?
It's a grant up to $10,000. If anything ever exceeds $10,000, then we would have a conversation with the homeowner prior to.
Oh, okay.
All right. Next, going into our Jacksonville Youth Council, we have Read Across America is March 2nd, and the Youth Council is going to celebrate Read Across America at our March meeting, which would be Thursday, March 5th. So we invite the young from age 0 to 12 to come to our meeting, where the Youth Council members will actually read to our young attendees. So parents that are viewing, parents that are here with us today, if you have any young children, 0 to 12, bring them to City Hall and let our teenagers read to your youth. Okay. We have our Harmony Community Celebration. This will take place March 19th. It is an open community celebration to the public, and Harmony is a branch of the Jacksonville Youth Council. They are our philanthropic, too many words to like. They are our philanthropic division of the Youth Council. Harmony starts in September with a 6-part training series with one of our national facilitators. They learn how to be philanthropists, what it means to be a philanthropist. They actually write the grant application to pass out to other organizations that are youth-led. And the goal is for those organizations to turn in an application that the youth of that organization will actually provide a program, a project that will benefit other youth in Onslow County. So all the funds that are received will stay in Onslow County. And our youth will learn how to become philanthropists. So you are invited to come out March 19th at the Jacksonville Youth Center at 5 o'clock. Lastly, I have our Adopt a program. If you're interested in adopting a park, a stream, street, or trail in the city of Jacksonville, we do have an application process. You may visit the website jacksonvillenc.gov/adopt, or you may contact me at 938-6551. It is a 4-year commitment that you are adopting said street, trail, stream, or park, and you're required to do a minimum of 4 times a year. So you can schedule with your organization at least once quarterly to adopt any of the 4 items.
Is this a cleanup type of a situation? Is it what?
Yes, ma'am. So we do have, if you're familiar and you kind of driven around, you may have seen the green signs that the state has, so that's Department of Transportation.
Oh, okay.
And the city runs it along the same guidelines, but we do it within city streets.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. At this time, we would like to open it up for our one city, our city, my city moments.
Oh, I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
This week, I've been so busy. But I had to work on base February the 11th. Honey Baked Ham, the USO, Marine Corps Community Service at Camp Lejeune. We worked on base. Honey Baked Ham donated approximately 1,300 boxes of hams and turkeys to the enlisted Marines, giving back to the community. And we stood outside in the military parking lot in front of the PX and was giving out the boxes, and the line was as long as you could see. It was raining, it was cold, but they were so happy to get those boxes and take them home. Look, they was coming, and we were just, it was, a lot of the Masonic guys came out to help us pass the boxes. But Honey Baked had 3 16-wheeler truckloads to come up and drop off those packets.
Yes.
And we worked, and they thanked us. They was very happy to get the turkeys and the hams from Honey Baked. So that was a giveaway, because they had Miss Barton told me they had it in Camp Pendleton, and they decided to have it on the East Coast too.
Yes, ma'am.
So the company agreed to put it at Camp Lejeune. So we did it was a great thing, because the guys were really happy to
Yes, ma'am.
get the boxes of food. So that was a good thing.
Thank
Take
you.
care of our Marines.
Hoorah.
Okay, I just wanted to bring up that we had a community cleanup through the OSTRA committee. And it was an invitation with one of the members, Commissioner Royce Bennett. He invited members of City Council and also his fellow commissioners to come out and help look out one of the houses that was located, I think, in Richlands, and I think another one was in Hubert. So we have Councilman Brian Jackson there, we had the Deputy City Manager, Ron Massey there, along with Commissioner Royce Bennett and members of the United Methodist Group. We also had Commissioner Paul Buchanan. We had Councilman Bob Warden and
Foster.
and Tim Foster, Commissioner Tim Foster. So it was a wonderful effort. A lot of the volunteers came out and they helped this family get all of the materials out of their house that was damaged in the storm. So this was a great step for them, just to get that out of there and to get some boards, drywall boards nailed up.
Sort of like Habitat for Humanity, huh?
Yeah,
It was a
we
great
had a
thing.
very, very good day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good
we
thing.
did 3 houses that day.
That's good.
Yep.
I didn't see Dr. Wood.
When we see pictures like that, it's just to give you an idea that so many months after a major storm that we still have a lot of cleanup, and our citizens in Onslow County still need our help And that's what the One City, My City, Our City moment is all about. It's about helping one another, and as long as we can remember that, we'll continue to make our city better. So we wanna make sure that we keep up these good, efforts in the future. So now, we'll go on to our future agenda topics. And, we always ask that you bring, suggestions so we can discuss at our next, meeting. Any ideas, policies, programs, and other things to help advise us. And that's why I'm glad that, we do have, visitors on tonight. And what this does is it enhances our communication, with this committee and also the citizens of Jacksonville. And it fosters, just livable neighborhoods in the area and in the city of Jacksonville. So we just wanna, say thank you. And if you have any topics that you want to, have for future discussion, we'll bring those up at this time.
And if you don't have any at this time, what you can do is make sure that you contact staff here at the city, myself and Ms. Pamela Trafton, and we'll make sure that we get this to our committee chairs before the next meeting. So feel free.
Yeah, and if you don't have them today, and what normally happens, we will have, answers that we've, provide for you. Whether we need outside help, whether it be the police department, the traffic division, whoever we need to, bring the answers to give them to our citizens. So that's very important. For those who are watching also, you can call those, topics in also. Now, do we have any questions or comments?
I do have, sorry.
I have one comment, and I'd like to make it towards the award that was given on Friday. It was fantastic.
Oh.
It was amazing, and General Dickinson, I used to work for him.
Oh, okay, yes,
So I would see him. It was a great thing. You put it together so well. It was a lot of people.
A lot of people there, yeah,
The
we
quilt,
filled the room, yeah, it was great. But another testament to our community is how many nominees there were. People
Yes, that's
submitted
what,
a
and the
lot of
children was so
volunteers
much.
this year, it was great.
Mhm.
I was just gonna announce that I grabbed some flyers that we can grab after the meeting specifically for the census. So please take these, our guests that we have in attendance, take them, spread them out amongst the community so that way all can be aware.
Also wanted to make an announcement that the Volunteer Recognition Week is coming up. So we'd like for you all to save the date so that we can honor you. It's gonna
What's
be
that date
held,
again?
ma'am.
That date again?
It's going to be April 14th at 6 p.m. So make sure you save the date, April 14th at 6 p.m. We'll be sending out formal invitations to you all so that you can RSVP.
City Hall, right?
Okay. And also wanted to inform you of key dates. Of course, Pamela mentioned the Harmony Grant Celebration, March 19th. Our next Home by Education course, March 21st. Census Day, April 1st. Our Team Volunteer and Job Fair is gonna be April 4th. The next final public input meeting for our annual action plan is gonna be April 6th. Our Community Development Week is going to be April 3rd through the 17th. And we're gonna have some kind of celebration and activities during that week to highlight our programs and projects. And also 13th through the 17th during that week. And we're gonna have a money management seminar on April the 18th.
Is there a cost for that? So no,
Not the money management seminar, no ma'am.
okay. Is that all, I don't have my calendar out, does that fall on a weekend or a weekday?
Yes, that's gonna be on a Saturday.
Saturday. And is the, people do need to register?
Yes, they do need to register. You can register by calling 910-938-5286 to register for any of our education courses or our money management seminars.
What's the time again?
The time for the Home by Education course is from 8 to 5. It's on a Saturday. And the money management seminar is from 8 to 12 on the April 18th on that Saturday.
And these key dates can be found on the City of Jacksonville website and also on the Facebook page. Because that's one thing we want to make sure that we get this information disseminated out to all of our citizens so that we're aware of what's going on and what's available. A lot of times, there's a famous saying from the scripture that said that people perish for a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we have to make sure that we're getting the knowledge and information out to everyone, just to be better citizens.
Did any guests have any questions?
Yes.
I just have one question, you may be out of your scope, but like adopt a highway and adopt a park, can you adopt a water well or a well in the communities? Because you know, when we have these hurricanes, contaminants do spill into your drinking water. And so only way we find out is one, through testing, and also there's a system that we have access to called the solar thermal water purification system. And what we'd like to do is at least put that on one well in our highly contaminated minority community and run some tests on our wells. So we want to adopt one of the wells if possible. We have the technology to do so.
Okay, so like a person that has a well in their yard, you would come out. Okay.
So we'll put we'll put the solar water purification system on board so that the city or anyone else can test the waters that are in that community coming from that well.
Now, do you have a write-up on?
We can get that for you.
Okay, if you can do that, that would be great.
Okay.
I have one also when you finish this up.
This goes back toward Raquel, on the disaster side of it. Hurricanes are well publicized. Are there any terms of definition? What other disasters, be it man-made or, economic stresses, would actually qualify for relief?
Yes, yes. So that's why in our title, we just title it disaster. Right now, the focus is hurricane because that was the last one. But yeah, we're covering all the disasters, whether it's a tornado, a fire, that type of stuff. That's where our community partners come into play at. So Red Cross will, take care of the fire stuff. We all have our different roles that we play, but it's all disasters.
Yeah, those are still on the natural side. I'm thinking of things like maybe a cybersecurity attack or, stuff that really, from a planning perspective, right? Has there been any exercises with the stakeholders to take a look at different types of disasters, so that you can prepare?
Nothing besides, only natural disasters.
Natural.
Yes, nothing on the cyber. I think that's really, probably out of a lot of our scope on that.
For this particular group, I would imagine, but I would think that law enforcement might be involved in that kind of thing.
Okay.
First responders.
I wanted to ask Marshall to check into this because I was listening to the national news yesterday and they were saying that there has been a lot of the census information sent out that is not from the right Census Bureau, that the Republicans are sending it out. There's a different color because the census sheet is a different color than what they're sending out. So I just wanted to say that maybe at the next meeting, you would have checked to see if you've heard anything like that. So people would be aware that when they get some of this in the mail, that they're not getting the correct census sheet, the form that they need. Because they're saying that the Republicans are sending out the wrong census and, the sheet, the forms. And that it would be good if people would be aware to know that they're not getting the correct one. So maybe
That
we
might
could
be
check
something
into that.
we could talk to G10 and also the newspaper, so they could put an example
Yeah.
of what, and the color example.
That's right.
Of what it's supposed to be looking like, in there, so. I'll certainly take that back to our, planning group.
And these, the census forms that show up, they should be coming from a verified government department, right?
But one thing
That's the
about it
question.
these days, if you got a good computer and a printer,
You could make
you can make
anything look
money and
real.
everything else you can imagine that looks
What
exactly
I
like.
understood, they said the census sheet was gonna be a blue sheet, but the ones that are sending out now are blue and white. It's not the you will know if you ever know the correct one, you know what the original one looks like. You'll know this is not the one that you're, and they're saying just for people to be aware, cause once they get this and they know the census is gonna be due,
You'll get
they
your
figure this is the
information.
one that I'm supposed to be filling out. So they said the Republicans are sending these out now. I heard that on Meet the Press yesterday.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. You introduce yourself, and then we have.
I'm just here as a.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm Bella Scotland. Nice to meet you guys. I'm just here for information. And he wants me to tell you that I'm running for county commissioner.
Nice to meet
Okay.
you. Glad to have you.
Do we have any other questions?
I have one more comment. On the flip side, we're talking about protecting the individuals that are, the census being taken from. What about the individuals that are going to take the census? You have dogs, you have guns and weapons and things of that nature. So are the census takers themselves being protected?
You mean the person who comes to their home?
Right. You know,
That was a
the
question that came up earlier
What she,
about,
well, she asked about the people that I guess were in the homes, how they were gonna be.
well, we talked
But the
about
people
both.
that are-
We talked about those.
If you're coming to the door and, like I said, we haven't, I can't remember an extensive conversation we've had about it because this has not been an issue, as far as I can tell, up until this particular year. But you know, the world being the way it is, people are concerned because I mentioned earlier about the jobs that are still available. And, the first thing that somebody said to me was, well, you know, I don't know if I would feel okay taking that job because I would have to come to somebody's home that I'm not aware of, you know, and so on. So it's concern from both ways, the person who's coming to the door and the person who is gonna open up the door to that individual, you know. So,
But they have
The
level
only-
of training that they.
yes,
that they
they're
go through.
before you ever go out, you're
Before you
trained.
ever go out.
And it could be that you're partnering with someone,
Yeah, I have to.
but that will be a question I would be glad to ask and just make sure that they are putting that out on, at least on G10. And I'm sure you'll see some more things as we get closer into March in newspaper and so on. That's probably where this issue will come up about, you know, what is the form supposed to look like, so you recognize it and that kind of thing. But the safety issue is one that, is just going to loom out there, especially this time.
There's so many belligerent people nowadays, when you come into them, you don't know what you're gonna meet when you
Yes.
really open that door.
That's why I was asking about the places for old elderly people to go. And to open up to
And
a
I think that's
church, you
one of the
open up
reasons
to a
why we
church
did
and
have,
take them in and have them fill out the forms and
Yeah.
somebody, just like we did when we had voting, okay? Cause a
Well,
lot of them are
that's probably
afraid
one
now, I
reason why
mean,
we
so
did have
many
a
of them,
big
is just
discussion
afraid to
on-
open the door.
on Census Day,
Can't get them to open the door,
you
you
would
can't
have
come.
someplace to go. rather than
I don't
being-
blame them either,
Yes, sir. Okay.
so I have to carry my stick when I open the door.
Get your baseball bat.
No, my stick. Oh, I didn't name it yet.
I would like to say, thank you for everyone that came out tonight. Thank you for our guests who came. I hope it was,
We did our
very
best.
informational for you. I would like to bring this, meeting to an adjournment and, I make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, I would move that
There
we
you go.
adjourn the
Thank you.
meeting.
I second the motion.
Thank you to me.
And I'd like to clap for all the visitors that came, because it's nice to see visitors in the
All right,
meeting.
thank you very much.
That lets us know you're concerned about the city.
And our next meeting is April
The
27th.
community.
Thank you.